So who are our sleeper player picks for the new season?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. It is hump day, everybody. Almost there to the weekend. We'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. You can find us on the KENS 5 Plus app, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. The list goes on and on. No excuse for you to subscribe to Locked On Spurs right now. Besides, you guys are the everydayers. We definitely appreciate you subscribing to Locked On Spurs each and every single day and watching us each and every single day. And we got a good show for you right now on this episode. But before we do all that, this episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jacecase.com. That's JASE medical.com. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be looking at the roster and trying to find who's our sleeper player. No, not the X factor. No, who's going to have that big leap, but which players flying under that radar that might surprise you heading into next season. Our guest, Woody, tell me who he's picking. I know who I'm picking. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. And also, Wemby's on the San Antonio tour. What does that mean? Do we like it? Do we don't like it? We'll find out and get our thoughts in just a few minutes. But before we do all that, the season is right around the corner. Can you believe it? I believe today they're giving a lot of the media a tour of the new Spurs practice facility. Now, Media Day won't be there, but that practice facility, the new one, The Rock, should open ahead of the regular season. Another sign that the new chapter of San Antonio basketball is here. New practice facility, new roster, potentially a new franchise player, Wemby, and so many new things are in store. And I hope that you're starting this new season with a fresh slate. Last season, it is what it is. You know, it was a tank season. That's what it was about, to up the odds to get Wemby, and the Spurs did that. So you kind of want to wipe the slate clean, because last year was pretty much a throwaway. This year, moving forward, I can get if you're going to be critical about this team. I can understand if Spurs fans are perhaps expecting a lot more this upcoming season versus last season, considering last season was a tank season. So, even though you have to exercise patience, even though you're going to have to realize that this team is still in rebuild. Yes, they're still rebuilding. It's okay to expect a little bit more this season. I'm pretty sure your expectations about Wemby are through the roof right now. All that hype. You're probably expecting something incredible, and so am I. But if he doesn't live up to it, give the kid a little bit of patience, but also, be expecting him to be that number one pick. I know I am. We'll see if he pans out. Same thing with the guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. I mean, in my opinion, if there's a player that's in the hot seat right now, probably be KJ, to see what he can do in his next evolution of his pro career. So patience, some expectations, and more is okay this upcoming season. And if you voice that opinion, hey, guess what? You're a fan, and that's okay. You can do that too. And just as there are players and fan bases that, our Spurs can do no wrong, it's okay if you want to take a negative side, or at least a critical side, I should say, not negative, and expect more from this team. And why shouldn't you? This is the Spurs. This is one of the legendary teams, multiple titles, the greatest coach in the world. How many players are in the Hall of Fame that wore silver and black? The list goes on and on. So, expectations are good to have, but let's not go too soon next season. I know my expectations are high. I expect your expectations to be high. I expect our guests' expectations to be high for this new team / rebuilding team heading into next season. But let's not waste any more time. Let's going to bring in our guest. He is back, everybody. I know y'all missed him so much. I know I did. He is Mike Jimenez. Look at that. There he is. Where have you been, Jimenez?
What's going on, my man? What's going on?
Man, we missed you here. By the way, everybody, it's not for lack of trying to get Jimenez. I've tried to get him a couple of shows. But as you know, he's dealing with some personal issues, but now he found some time. He is back. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at MJ Acquired Taste. You see it on the screen, and he'll tell you about the YouTube show that he's helping to be a part of later on this show. Jimenez, we missed you, man.
Dude, I'm glad to be back from time to time. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my world that is taking precedent right now. But to be honest with you, I'm now back active on Twitter, or if we're calling it X these days, whatever.
I forget too. Yeah.
Hey, remember that time that people sign on to Threads? Whatever happened to that?
Is this still a thing? This still a thing?
Has it gone the way of MySpace?
I think it has.
That's so funny, man. It was like, for a hot minute there, it was a thing.
It was going to be the X killer, remember?
Yeah. But no, I'm glad to be back, especially with the Spurs season starting in the next few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And Jimenez will be with you the whole season through on the YouTube show, on his Twitter feed, again, at MJ Acquired Taste. And let's get to it. Jimenez, there's a lot of players that fans are like this with a magnifying glass. Let's see how Wemby does. Let's see what KJ does. Let's see what Pop does in the new season. But there's also some players that are perhaps flying under the radar that could possibly be very key for this Spurs next season. Dare I say, a sleeper player. Now, what do we mean by sleeper player? Just a player that's flying under the radar that might really be a big contributor to this Spurs team next season in their success. Crossing fingers that they do. So with that being said, Jimenez, who do you have as your sleeper Spur player?
I'm going to go ahead and say that my sleeper player is my pick because I saw him play when the Spurs played in Austin. And I had seen him, don't get me wrong, on TV. The Spurs picked him up late last year. But watching him play in person, I was like, my God, this guy is an NBA player. And you mentioned Keldon Johnson potentially being on the hot seat. One of the reasons why he might be on the hot seat is because Julian Champagnie is right behind him.
Good pick.
And oh my God, what a very impressive player he was in the 2 months he was with the Spurs since they picked him up in February. This is a guy that knocked down nearly 41% of his three-point attempts. Last 5 games of the season, averaged 20 points per game, was shooting 45% from three, was getting rebounds, was getting assists on the outlets, running the break. He was playing defense. And I was like, wait a minute, the Spurs may have gotten a steal that they claimed off of waivers, a guy that was undrafted out of St. John's, who, by the way, at St. John's was a decent three-point shooter, was a 35% three-point shooter, which is not great, but not bad. So, but at least he has the stroke there. So Julian Champagnie, I'm interested in seeing exactly what his on this team because he might be too good to leave on the bench.
His play during the Summer League was outstanding. I mean, he was just lighting it up.
Yes.
During all the Vegas games that he played. And, leave it to the Spurs to find that diamond in the rough. Now, the good thing about it is that he was not a complete inexperienced guy that the Spurs discovered. He actually impressed in Philadelphia where he started his NBA career. As a matter of fact, there were some Philadelphia fans and even former players saying like, wow, the Spurs got themselves a baller. And they certainly did. He addresses exactly what the Spurs need, perimeter shooting. Mike, I'm not going to be surprised if he gets maybe more minutes than perhaps we're expecting, especially if the Spurs are in a tight game. They need a clutch. They need just a threat on that floor. And the spacing that Wemby is going to provide him, my goodness, those are clear looks at that rim if he's going to be shooting from long range, Jimenez.
Now you're talking about the 76ers fans. He played in the Big East over at St. John's, was a 2-time all-conference selection over there. So it's not like he came out of nowhere, just he was undrafted. But going on into what kind of role will he have with his team, it's logical to look at the roster and think to yourself, okay, we know who 4 of the 5 starters are. We don't know if Trey Jones is going to be a starter or not. We don't know if Sohan's going to be point forward or we don't know that dynamic. But you can look at the roster and say Doug McDermott should be a guy getting a lot of minutes. You can look at it and say that Malachi Branagh might have a breakout season. And there's certain players on that team that are interesting. But Champagnie might be that one player that breaks out simply because he's got the size, he's got the IQ, and he can play both sides of the ball. And he's also somebody, like you said, that can knock down 3. And the one thing that I complained about all last year, if you followed me on Twitter, or if you followed me on my old show on
Mhm.
San Antonio Sports Star, was I complained about how certain players were not efficient offensively, right?
Yeah.
Effective field goal shooting is like my favorite stat in the world, which is why I wanted the Spurs to take a strong look at Austin Reeves, right? But the thing about it is that you take a look at this guy's stats, it may be only 15 to 20 games for the season, but the fact of the matter is that, you shot 33 for 81 from three. I mean, that's a big enough of a sample size for me to say that this is a guy that should be on the floor. And then, as you said, he followed that up by playing his ass off in the summer league.
Yeah.
And it was somebody that day in, day out, he looked like a man among boys over there in the summer league. He looked like, wait a minute, I'm an NBA player, damn it. I might only be 21, 22 years old, but I'm an NBA player.
Right. Yeah.
And he didn't look like, my dad and I will watch these games, and my dad will sometimes say, well, that guy needs to marinate, in the G League.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him going, no.
Yeah.
This guy is above the G League.
He might do in the G League if they do assign him to the Austin Spurs, exactly what he did to the summer league opposition. I mean, he's right there. He's too good for summer league. He's probably too good for G League. He's on a NBA roster. Fortunately for the Spurs, he wears silver and black. But that is a great pick. As a matter of fact, everybody, he might have stole my pick. That's exactly what I have. But he's the guest, so he gets first dibs. He took Julian Champagnie. Hey, who do I pick for a sleeper player for the Spurs next season? We're going to talk about that and more right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez. Hey, I want to talk to you about Jace Medical. Look, you got to get yourself the Jace case. I have the Jace case, and I am more than ready for anything that might happen to me medically, as well as be there for my friends and family should something happen to them. So what is the Jace case? Well, it provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case is to fill out a simple form online. You jump some hurdles, you jump into this, you fill out these forms, you get this done. It's really easy, and you can even jump on a call with one of their board certified physicians. Now you get ongoing care from their physicians, and they be able to treat any related questions you got. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Look, don't be caught unprepared. That's the last thing you want to do. Everyone should be empowered to take care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy, medication delivery, and ongoing consultation and care. Look, I enjoy it. When I got my Jace case, first of all, it comes in a great little case. It's very small. You tuck it away. It's not big and space consuming. And I have it there. I know where it's at. I know where I can go in case I need it. Look, with storms, shortages, pandemics, reliance on China, and supply chain issues, we need to be prepared now more than ever. That's why you got to get yourself the Jace case. Jace Medical is simple. Again, go online, fill out a form, get a prescription, life-saving medications right to your door. Get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez. You see him right there on your screen. Follow him on Twitter at MJAcquireTaste. And thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. Tomorrow, more silver and black, and we get you ready for the upcoming season. So we're talking about sleeper player. Jimenez threw the name in his on his table there, or what would be a kind of a poker equivalent? You put your chips on the table, right? You put your cards out, right?
That's
you got
right.
Champagne.
All in on Champagnie.
All right. Who am I picking? I'm going with the veteran Reggie Bullock. I think he is going to be a sleeper player for this person. First of all, if he even stays the whole season, he's great trading bait for any team. But I think he's going to provide the obvious, that locker room presence, that veteran presence that the Spurs need on the roster. But he's a 3-and-D guy. 3-and-D. Defense, which the Spurs were atrocious last year in that category, and 3 because he can knock down threes, exactly what the Spurs lack next season. Very similar to Julian Champagnie, provides a perimeter threat. So does Reggie Bullock. Now, let's look at some of Reggie Bullock's stats. Now, last season with Dallas, played 78 games, 7.2 points per game, Jimenez. But you got to remember, too, he's playing on a team with Kyrie and Luka. So a lot of the touches are not going to go to him. But nevertheless, if you wanted that effective field goal percentage shooting that Jimenez loves to talk about, 57% effective field goal percentage. He also handed out about a 1.4 assists, 3.6 rebounds, shot 38% from the 3 line, and 41% overall. He comes in with that playoff experience. He's played with the Clippers. He played with the Pistons. He played with Detroit. He played with the Lakers. He has a wealth of knowledge he can provide to this young Spurs team that is still in rebuild. Their 19-year-old basketball prodigy, Wembyama, could lean on a guy like Bullock if if he goes through the ups and downs of an NBA season, and he will. What better to have than a veteran like Bullock, who's seen it, been there, done it all, highs and lows of an NBA season. I mean, with the amount of seasons he's played in the NBA, I think the Spurs are going to tap into that, and he can provide yourself some offense and some defense. I think Reggie Bullock is going to be a sleeper pick. Jimenez, your thoughts?
Like you said, sleeper pick if he actually makes it onto the roster, because if he does make it onto the roster, you can make the argument that he is one of the top 8 or 9 players on that team, but will he get the minutes? I mean, I go back in time, the Spurs had Thad Young on the roster for a while there, and Thad Young was one of the better players on that team, but you're giving
me Damari Carroll vibes. Remember that?
Yeah, he was nailed down to the bench there.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that Reggie Bullock is the type of player that Pop typically likes when the team is a winning team. Mm-hmm. Look at the 3-and-D guys the Spurs have had in the past. Anyone from Danny Green to Bruce Bowen.
Right.
The Spurs have had success having 3-and-D guys. To some extent, you might even say Sean Elliott back in the day, though he did a lot more than just threes. Fact of the matter is that Reggie Bullock is the type of player, as you mentioned, who gets the effective field goal percentage up. And for those of you who don't know, if he's at 57%, that basically means for every 100 times he shoots the ball, he scores 114 points, which is good, right? Because 57%, that's how that number kind of adds up. You want to be north of 53, 54% if you are a 2-3 type of player.
Right.
6'6", guy has played for 6 different teams. He has seen some battles out there. He's not going to be intimidated. And that's the thing. There needs to be some sort of veteran presence on the court beyond McDermott. It has to be beyond just that, because, you have a team out there that has, we were joking earlier about how the Spurs have 6 players under the age of 21. And then they have several players who are just 22, 23 years old. So the Spurs need to have some sort of veteran presence down the stretch, especially during times like the rodeo road trip, to teach them how to be professionals on the court. Gorgie Jang was that guy for the Spurs a while back. The Spurs need to have that type of guy on the roster. That could be Reggie Bullock. And as far as what he would do on the court, guy shoots about 38% from 3. The guy knocks down free throws like crazy. He's a high free throw percentage shooter. He's just not a volume guy.
Right. And what I like about that is the fact that he brings defense, and something, again, the Spurs lacked last season. And he can play defense, and that's going to do wonders for Popovich in Pop's book, and perhaps force Bullock to get some, or at least force Pop to get some minutes next season. Now, we talk about his shooting, though. If we look at his field goal percentage, it's interesting the way he breaks it down. He's a great at the rim scorer. He shoots about 75% between 0 to 3 feet at the rim. So he definitely can get it done around the rim with his size and his bulk and his strength and his basketball IQ or NBA IQ at this point. Interesting enough, though, the mid-range, though, about 42%. So it's okay. It could be better, but he's somewhat of a threat, a light threat at the mid-range shot. But interesting enough, though, he spikes your long mid-range shots, like right below the 3, about 44% too. So he gives a little bit of offensive threat, shooting perimeter threat on that court. And defensively, well, we know what he can do. So,
well, think about this. Think about a close game. Spurs up 1, 8 seconds to go, bringing in the ball at midcourt. And you get a roster out there of Vassell, Reggie Bullock, Sohan, Zach Collins, and Wemby.
Not bad.
The Spurs suddenly have the potential to have a defense to close out a game.
Absolutely.
And Reggie Bullock can be part of it.
Absolutely. And he owns an island, everybody. The guy's balling. He owns an island. No, I'm not joking. He literally owns an island. But I think if he does stick around, I think he'll be valuable for the development of this team on the court, off the court. You mentioned Gorgie Dang, and they need to replace that sort of veteran presence. It could be, well, it could be Osman. Hell, I think it could be the young veterans right now. I think KJ needs to be something like that at this point in his career.
Yeah.
But you got Reggie Bullock in uniform. I think he is a sleeper. Interesting, though, Jimenez, aside from Champagnie and Bullock, who I had, on my list, my third sleeper pick on my list was actually going to be Mamu. I thought he would be benefiting from Wemby presence, kind of doing that Robinson Duncan thing. Not comparing them to that yet, but
right.
You got Zach Collins and Wemby. I thought maybe a Mamu Wemby kind of thing, and Mamu benefiting from that as well. He's a good player, very crafty, good passing. But no, I think Champagnie and Bullock, they got to be high on sleeper players, that these guys that are just flying under the radar. So, yeah. Who else did you have on your radar as far as under the radar pick?
It might be an end of the season thing because there's a lot that he needs to learn. But defensively, Sidi Sissoko,
yeah,
I mean, could be somebody down the way. I mean, I doubt that he'll be part of the varsity squad early on, but that's going to be somebody down the road to kind of keep an eye on. During the summer league, he was very inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, he always had it. And Pop has a thing for players who can play defense. If you can play defense, you can play for Pop.
Right. And that's why I think Reggie Bullock could be knocking on that door. He's a veteran, too. We know how Pop loves him some veterans like Bullock. Mm-hmm. So, historically, Pop loves those kind of players. Hey, when we get back, we're going to talk about Wemby and his San Antonio tour. Where's he been going? What's he been doing? How's he getting to know the city that's going to be cheering on for him next season right here on Locked On Spurs? Hey, you got to go to Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. I know Jimenez does, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
you
sir.
love that with Muslinger's, don't you?
Oh, dude, the mini donuts, salted caramel,
exactly.
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
People think that Muslinger is all about coffee, and they are. I mean, that's their thing. But they also have mini donuts, and they have like this rotation of new drinks every single week. From the Alien, which is in honor of Wembyama. That's a full can of Red Bull, green apple, and kiwi all mixed together. Very delicious. They got the Sub-Zero. That's in honor of Frank Harris of UTSA. They have so many other drinks. The OG OJ for the nostalgia vibes. You want to get that Orange Julius vibe again, only at Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. And Jimenez, a little birdie told me they might be having a new drink, something called Money something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It's going to cost $1,000 a can.
I don't know. No, that's just rumor. That's all I heard. But you want to go to Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Jimenez goes, I go. Everybody in San Antonio goes. They're located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong. Every single day, they're getting just rave reviews. They got the Muslinger, their signature coffee drink. Very delicious from a lot of people, what they say about it. Dairy alternatives. They have the Red Bull infused lightning bolt series. There's this thing, a can of Red Bull with your favorite flavor. I picked the strawberry. You should pick it too. They are a go-to spot in San Antonio, a proud sponsor of Locked On Spurs, a proud member of the San Antonio community. They are just all about the community, friendly staff, the donuts, the drinks. They have it all at Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. That's located near 281-1604. If you're in the San Antonio area, that's near Stone Oak. Again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Every day, open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Find them on Threads, X, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, pick a platform there. Their Instagram at Muslinger SATX. Go there right now. You don't want to get Jimenez upset. Go to Muslinger's. Go to Muslinger's right now. Again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Life is too short for a bland coffee. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of Locked On Spurs with Mike Jimenez. Follow him on Twitter at MJAcquiredTaste. In just a few seconds, I need to tell you about what he's doing on the YouTube side of things to still talk about sports and be active in the San Antonio sports community. All right, so in case you've been living under a rock, everybody, Wemby has been touring San Antonio. He's eating tacos in front of his mural. He's signing another mural of his. He's wearing a cowboy hat. He's visiting the fans at sports bars. The list goes on and on. He's playing ping pong underneath the highway of San Antonio. Mamu and Manu. So he's really absorbing the city of San Antonio, seeing the historic side of it. I'm glad they're doing this now. This is nothing new. Manu and done this years past with other new players. But since he is the franchise guy, I am glad that he's seeing that the whole city of San Antonio is there to support him and much, much more. So kudos to the Spurs and Wemby. Jimenez, what have you been thinking?
It's fun to watch. I mean, I saw that video of him shooting hoops underneath the bridge. I thought that was pretty cool. And him getting excited to knock it down from straight away. That was pretty cool. I'm glad that he was able to enjoy tacos as opposed to tacos.
Yeah, for those of you who don't live in San Antonio, that's how a lot of people pronounce tacos here.
Exactly the correct way, tacos.
Yeah.
But to take away that first impression of Taco Palenque, which was the first thing they gave him.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. We had to give him San Antonio tacos.
Man.
San Antonio tacos.
Bad start.
Not RGV stuff, not Laredo stuff or Del Rio stuff. Don't get me wrong, we love the people from Laredo, Del Rio, and RGV, but San Antonio has its own variety of that cuisine, right? And I love Taco Palenque, to be honest with you, but I wanted him to have something from San Antonio, and finally he's getting that. So it's cool to see him out and about, to be on all sides of town, right? He's gone to the south side. He's gone downtown. He's making his way up I-10. He was at the Rue Pub. Yeah. And he's
the same place where that went viral when the Spurs won the lottery. He went back to that scene.
And I was there. I was there that night, and I remember Jason Minix from San Antonio Sports Star told me that it's going to be one of those things where everyone's going to say that they were there at the Rue Pub the night of the lottery, when there was only about maybe 300 of us there, but probably about 30,000 people in San Antonio claimed that they were there at the time.
I was at the Rue Pub, right? Yeah.
So anyway, that was interesting to see him out there, to go back to the scene of the crime, if you will. Then because he posted that on Instagram.
He did, yeah.
The celebration that was over there, that was on ESPN and SportsCenter and whatnot. Now, got into a little bit of an issue on Twitter the other day, or X the other day. Yep. So there's a lot of people who are arguing back and forth about Wemby being out and about and whether or not he should be in a bar setting like he was over at the Rue Pub. And there were some people going back and forth with me on Twitter, giving me crap about it and I understand that he did nothing wrong. I understand that he wasn't going out there drinking. Now, keep in mind where he's from, it is legal to drink at his age. It's just not in the state of Texas. Right? Mm-hmm. There are 6 players on the Spurs roster who are not of the legal age of drinking. So I thought it was I don't want to say it was in bad form to go out to the Rue Pub, because the Rue Pub's amazing and the ownership's great over there. Has nothing to do with that. It was the photos of him sitting at the bar that I thought was a little bit weird, because people were like, well, Michael, it is a family place. You can have food there. And there's other places out there where you can have food and they serve drink and whatnot. I was like, yeah, but you don't see minors sitting at the bar. And I guess Wemby does get a pass when it comes to it all. I'm not saying that he did anything wrong or that he was planning to do anything wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying that it doesn't really bother me. I just see that as bothering some people. So why go there? That was the whole thing I was saying.
Yeah. For me, it was a non-issue. I didn't see him. For me, why it was a non-issue is because I didn't see, Wemby going to bar and sitting at the bar. For me, it was Wemby is sitting with fans, and they just happen to be at the bar, and he's interacting with them. He's chatting with them. He's talking with them. And I think also, too, especially at the Rue Pub, he had to get at the bar to take a picture of the entire place. He's so tall and lanky and long. And plus, that is just where it happened, where the Spurs, majority of San Antonio celebrated the Spurs winning the draft lottery and him. So
that wasn't the only one, though. That wasn't the only one that he visited, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that wasn't. But I'm talking about just because in the Rue Pub picture, he was behind the bar.
Right.
I believe. Yeah. So again, to me, a non-issue. I think it should have never came up to begin with.
And the Rue Pub is great. The Rue Pub is great. So good. I'm nothing against the Rue Pub.
I've been to the Rue Pub. I've seen kids there. I've seen kids there.
And I frequent that place a lot. But I'm just saying, though, is that what I'm saying is that on social media, when people are sharing photos of all this, they're not giving the full context of it all.
Exactly.
And because you don't get the full context, people's minds can then begin to wander. Yeah. And because of that, that's why I'm saying it might not be the best place to do those types of photos.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But other than that, though, I mean, I again, I think it's no big deal. I mean, he wasn't pounding down beers. I mean, and nothing like that. For me, it's just interacting with fans. The same thing way he did when he went to that taco spot where his mural was. He went inside the restaurant and greeted fans. Same thing here. He went inside a restaurant bar and greeted fans, and that's all it was. But I know a lot of San Antonio is anxious to see the season start. It's right around the corner. Media day is next week. Training camp begins next week. It is here. The NBA released the preseason TV schedule. All Spurs preseason games will be on TV. That's the Wemby effect. That is just crazy. But it is almost here, but we're done talking. We want to hear from you. Who is your sleeper Spur? Is it Bullock? Is it Champagnie? Is it somebody else? Is it Mamu? Who we're not talking about? Let us know. You can let Mike know on Twitter at MJ Acquired Taste. Jimenez, what is cooking on your department? I know you're involved with the Alamo City Sports Podcast on YouTube. What's that about?
Yeah, so Alamo City Sportscast, it's kind of the second generation of what I had going on with the Acquired Taste. As mentioned, I've had some issues going on in my life that took greater importance. As much as I love talking about sports day in and day out, I had to focus on some things that were in a personal nature that still kind of go on to this day. But long story short, Joe and the rest of the gang over there at what used to be the Acquired Taste have gone on, and I've latched back on. So I've been on once or twice a week or so doing my sports bits, typically either on Friday or Monday or both. But basically, it's whenever I'm on, it's basically my old show. Okay, I don't conform to what the other guys are doing. But so we're doing I think live shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's live from noon to about 1:15. It's live on YouTube, so people can take part and subscribe to Alamo City Sportscast, and they can leave comments in real time that we can respond to. But a lot of people, watch the show or listen to the show afterwards, whether they go back on YouTube later on or they go on any of the podcast formats from Apple to, iHeart and all of those stuff. They can be part of the show. But it's fun. It's entertaining. It's sports. We do a lot of pop culture. They like having segments of me talking about female celebrities for some reason.
I wonder why, Jimenez.
I know. It's like that guy who posted something on Twitter earlier today, and he tagged me on it. It was a photo of Megan Fox with Scarlett Johansson, Jennifer Lawrence, and what's that British one? I forgot her name.
Oh,
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, rank them, put them in order. And I was like, why do people send me this? Okay? I take one photo.
Because you're Jimenez. That's why.
I take one photo. I took 6 photos with Paige Sporadic, all right? And this is what happens.
Well, because she's your best friend. That's why. Remember, she's your best friend.
Oh, yeah, my best friend, Paige Sporadic. Yeah.
He is Mike Jimenez. Follow him on Twitter again at MJ Acquired Taste. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Kens 5 Plus app, Spotify. I'm out of breath because there's so many places you can catch Locked On Spurs and the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network, from Locked On MLB, NFL, the rest of the Locked On NBA shows, all there at the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm still stuck in those 3-day-a-week thing. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're having a special guest. Either Jimenez is going to do this again, I believe, or we're going to have Dr. Ryan back. Yes, he's going to get back and talk about the Spurs. So I look forward to that. So either way, it's going to be a good guest. You're going to win. Everybody's going to win. So for Mike Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.